So, hello everyone. So, good afternoon. So, my name is Kevin Xia. I'm the program director of the Biomedical Engineering program of the Faculty of Engineering, Hong Kong U. So, in a few minutes, we will kickstart our admission talk today. And we will spend about like 30 minutes or so to give you an overview of what BME and Biomedical Engineering is about. And then we will have a Q&A sessions, then we can chat more with each other. All right, so the talk will be given in English, all right, and the Q&A sessions could be conducted in both the English and also Cantonese. Okay, so I can also speak in Cantonese. Okay, so probably we can wait a few more minutes. I think that we are still having people coming in the room right now. Okay. 我可以用翻廣東話再即係 sort of repeat 翻一次啦。咁歡迎今日大家嚟到呢一個即係入學講座啦。咁我係Kevin 姐，我係呢一個 BME Programme 嘅 Program Director。咁一陣間嚟緊大約30分鐘左右咧，我會同大家講下關於即係生物醫學工程係一啲咩嚟㗎啦，同埋我哋自己呢一個課程會涵蓋啲咩範疇。咁一陣間個 talk 其實係會用英文嚟講嘅。咁完咗之後咧，如果大家有啲咩問題關於 BME 啊，或者我哋嘅 program 啊，可以歡迎即係用中文、廣東話同埋英文問都得嘅。OK，如果大家即係怕醜嘅話都唔緊要，你可以喺個 chat room 嗰度個 group chat 嗰度可以打你嘅問題啦。咁我一陣間會 keep 住睇到你哋嘅問題嘅。咁我一陣間完咗我個 talk 會逐一去解答翻大家嘅問題啦。好冇？我哋可以再等多幾分鐘，咁我哋可以一陣間正式開始㗎啦。 All right, so maybe we can kickstart our talk. Okay, now actually before I start, I think I would want to let you know that now at the same time, we are actually having a live chat room where we have our BME Biomedical Engineering professors and teachers, and also our current students right now being in that on the live chat room. Okay, who will be sharing with you of something about like biomedical engineering in our program. So after the talk, okay, you are very welcome and encouraged to go to the room, and then you can talk to them in live, in real time. So then you can get to know more about the program. Okay, and then we just sent out the link here in the chat, the group chat right now. So I think all of you would be able to see the link here. So you can go there and chat with our teachers later on. Okay, so once again, thank you for coming to this a virtual live talk, which is about biomedical engineering and in general, as well as this program at Hong Kong U. So let me first introduce myself. I'm Kevin Chia. I'm the program director of this biomedical engineering program. So what I'm going to talk about today and what you expect from me in the following 30 minutes or so, I will give you an overview of what BME is about, so and what it takes to be a biomedical engineer. Okay, and then during the talk, I would also introduce some of the key elements that we have in our BME program. Okay, so very delighted to have all of you here, and right now we have more than 100 audience in the room. So again, feel free to ask me questions after the talk, and if you have any question during my talk, feel free to type in your questions in the chat bot, and then I can see that after the talk, and I will try my best to answer the questions one by one. All right, so let's kickstart our talk here. So, well, instead of giving you a sort of very formal or equivalent quote unquote boring introductions of BME or engineering, perhaps I would try to give you like 10 facts about BME that the experts won't tell you most of the time. All right, so let's begin. So first thing first, I can tell you that Iron Man, it's a biomedical engineer. So I'm sure almost all of you should know who Iron Man is. Okay, so he's one of the very cool characters in the Marvel series movie. Okay, and why do I say that he is actually a biomedical engineer? Which is all because of this little device on his chest. Okay, and for those who are very familiar with the movie, so this is really originated from a big machine, okay, that is actually in his family factory called an arc reactor. Okay, so this is actually a power reactor that can generate the energy, which is actually invented by his father. All right, and during one of these accidents, in a movie, and Iron Man or Tony Stark actually had to come up with an idea to build a machine or build a device that can actually save his life. Okay, and one of the approaches is to make use of this arc reactor idea, but try to minimize in a very compact form so that you can actually implant on his chest. All right, so in the device development in BME language, so this is what we call the miniaturization. All right, so how you actually can reinvent some existing technology to fit in a certain application, and in this case definitely is to save his life. All right, so this, okay, by definition, it's a very important process of medical device developments where biomedical engineers actually would involve quite a lot. Okay, and not only that, okay, he actually improved these techniques and this device, over and over again throughout many generations of improvement. The idea is to make it more powerful, and very relevant to the medical device development is how you can make this kind of implantable devices less invasive and less toxic, so that the patient or the Tony Stark himself can actually use it in a safe manner. Okay, so by definition, that's why this is pretty much what the biomedical engineer would usually do, and that's why he is pretty much a biomedical engineer. And in fact, if I try to look back to the actual scenario in our biomedical engineering world, we do have at least one, all right, very, very close analogy here, which is what we call the pacemaker. So this is actually the device, invented and engineered by the biomedical engineers, how we come up with a device concept and make the device to save lives here. Now, and then how do we do that in this case using the pacemaker is that, so this device would be basically implanted inside the body, very close to the heart, usually is right on the chest. Okay, and this device, okay, would actually generate electrical signals so that it can regulate and help the heart's pump regularly. So this is a very, very useful device, for people, especially elderly people who has, the problems of their hearts, especially the difficulties, okay, to pump their heart, regularly. Okay, and this is, by the way, it's not something very, very new. It's been around for almost half a century. Okay, all the way from late 1950, that we already had this kind of device being implanted in the human body. All right, and over the years, very similar to Iron Man's story, that the people have been improving this technology, being less and less invasive in a way that you can make it smaller and smaller and smaller. All right, so this is exactly what the BME or biomedical engineers has been involving in the field, how we can develop and invent biomedical devices to save lives. All right, now, and unlike Iron Man, okay, he basically developed the device, for his own good, for saving his own life. All right, but biomedical engineers, okay, are not all Iron Man, because they develop different technologies, not only for their own sake or own good. All right, so we are actually providing solutions for everyone, and hopefully to everyone's healthcare. Okay, and this is very important. Again, this is really what the BME is about. So it's all about how we can develop new solutions and new technology to address many challenges in biomedical applications in healthcare, especially right now we have these aging population problems. And I'm sure a lot of you should have heard of this issues in not only in Hong Kong, in many other countries. This is a global issue. That basically the number of people on the planet over 60 years old, okay, will be more than triple from 600 million people to 2 billion, meaning that we have more and more people can live longer, which is very good. But at the same time, we live longer with a lot of more chronic disease problems. And that is a huge issue, because now, as I said, being aging, or having the ability to live longer, which is good, but you have to live longer and healthy. All right. So this is what usually we call a healthy aging. All right. And that's actually cause a lot of burden in our healthcare system right now, because we have more and more patients with many different types of chronic disease problems. All right. And if you try to look at some of the real statistics, some real data right now. So this is a pretty updated one, looking into the global data in terms of the number of deaths by causes, like in the different diseases over the whole world, all right, all the countries. And you can see that, okay, ranking the top will be the heart disease, or a technical term called the cardiovascular diseases. Okay, that is anything about the failure or malfunctions of your heart, all right? And this is exactly related to our aging society, because of the fact that we have developed many bad lifestyle, daily routine, smoking, etc. And we're running into many other problems, like high blood pressure, hypertension, high blood glucose level, diabetes, and overweight, obesity. And there's many other issues like mental stress. Okay, so all these are actually the consequences of being more and more people having the ability to live longer. All right, and not only that. Okay, you can see that, okay, we do have many more other problems like cancers, lung issues, okay, and down the road, I mean, if you look down the list here, like diabetes, so all of these issues are related to the aging society. And then how we can make use of technology, okay, to save lives. Okay, we are not only talking about medical doctors or nurses or clinicians here. They need to have technologies to work with. All right, to overcome the current burden or release the current burden in the healthcare system. Okay, and now you can actually see that here, we indeed, okay, as biomedical engineers, we are facing a huge, wide range of problems in healthcare. All right, and indeed, many different biomedical engineers are actually very specialized in a very specific problems, and there's very diverse range of different problems. And that's actually links to a very, very unique characteristics of our biomedical engineers, that we actually don't have a very clear identity in most of the cases. Okay, and you might think that, this is actually not good, but I can tell you this is exactly the characteristics of BME, and actually make us very unique and make us actually very, very attractive in many cases, and also compared to other professions. And you don't have to bother why we don't have a very clear identity. And at least I can give you a few examples here, okay, how diverse that we as a biomedical engineer can actually contribute to many different aspects in healthcare, and not only healthcare, but beyond that, and how we can help the scientists and biologists to have a better understanding of how humans actually works, or how different parts of the humans actually works. And not only human, but could be any other living systems. So for example, here, okay, what you're seeing in this video, we, as biomedical engineers, we actually can develop and learn from biology. Okay, for example, we can learn the biologies of our human muscles, how we can understand the electrical signal that can be generated from the muscles, and use this signal to control electronics. Say you can use it to control your TV remote control. You can, like this guy doing presentation, using his own hand gestures. All right, or you can basically control drones or many others devices, just simply using these kind of gestures. And how can we do that? You have to learn basic biology here, and then apply this to and combine with the engineering skill sets, and develop this kind of devices and technologies. And as I said, not only human, you can also contribute to the biomedical science research. And what you are seeing is actually a very cool experiment. You can actually see it right now. There's a little mouse, being trapped within this chamber. Okay, and in fact, there's actually a little optical fiber, sticking on his head, so that you can actually deliver the laser light and shine on his brain. Okay, and what you're seeing here is, whenever we shine the blue light on this rat or mouse, okay, and this mouse will run continuously here, like anti-clockwise manner, until the blue light is stopped, or switch off the blue light is right here, you see? So when you switch off the light, you can basically let the mouse actually stop. Okay, sounds a little bit freaky here, okay, because you can actually use light external control to control some living animals. Okay, and that is exactly how people nowadays, and the scientists nowadays, try to use this approach, which is what we call optogenetics, okay, to understand how brain works. Okay, so isn't very cool. And not only that, you can also look into many different other animals. Like, biomedical engineers actually developed right now a very powerful microscope, okay, so that you can see the very tiny features of a fruit fly. When I say tiny features, I'm talking about even down to individual single cells within this fruit fly. And I'm sure a lot of you know how small the fruit fly is. All right, and not only we can see the fruit fly, we are actually seeing the small little cells, okay, within that makes up this fruit fly, and you can actually see them in a 3D manner. Okay, and what you're seeing here is how this embryo of this fruit fly is actually growing over time. This is really, really amazing technology. And even down to smaller scale, you can even look at how the cells are actually behaving in lives. For example, here, okay, the red cells, which is actually a white blood cells, is actually attacking and eating a cancer cell, which is in blue. So you can actually see that how these current technologies, mostly developed by biomedical engineers, to understand better, okay, human biology or biology in general. Okay, Now, and you can actually see that that actually involves quite a number of different disciplines and different expert knowledge in order to build all these cool technologies. And I'm sure that, or I think that most of you or many of you might have heard that when people describe BME, they would use this term called a multidisciplinary, meaning that it involves many disciplines, okay, in this field. And strictly speaking, this is not absolutely true, okay, because we are not only including, like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, mathematics, physics, biology, okay. This is multidisciplinary, but we are not there. This is not the end of the story, because all we care here is how we can link all these subjects together and then to solve a very specific problems in biology or in healthcare. So that's why a better description than the multidisciplinary is interdisciplinary. Okay, how we can emphasize the linkage and the interrelationship between different disciplines, okay, to put them together. I can again give one more example here, and you can see that how you can really imagine different disciplines should be included, integrated with each other to solve a single problem. And here I'm talking about this coronary artery disease. Okay, this is one of the leading cause of death right now. Okay, and this is particularly the problem when you have the blood flow problem in your coronary artery, which is one of the biggest blood vessels on your in your heart. Okay, and whenever your blood vessel, this coronary artery, get blocked, that is actually a very, very serious problem, because sooner or later, after a few more minutes, the patients will basically die. Okay, then the question is, how can we detect this coronary artery disease in as early as possible? And there are actually many devices and technologies out there that can provide partial solutions. For example, here, ECG, okay, electrocardiogram, a technique that you can measure the electrical signal generated from your heart, okay, so that I can tell whether or not your heart is actually working properly, okay. That involves electrical engineering, involves some physics, and for sure biology here. And magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, I'm sure a lot of you should have seen this kind of technologies, mostly about brain imaging, okay? But you can also use it for imaging many other internal organs of human, including the hearts. You can use this technique, okay, to understand how the blood being pumped and in and out from the hearts. So these technologies involve very hardcore physics, biologies, and mathematics here, so that you can reconstruct the image very clearly here. All right. And even more other technologies. For example, here, what you're seeing is what we call the endoscopy techniques and optical imaging techniques called the OCT. So they actually use a very tiny probe, okay, as thin as a human hair, just like what you're seeing here on the screen. All right. So they insert this hair, like very tiny probe, into the coronary artery and to do the radar scan, to see whether there's any blockage within the blood vessels. Just for example, what you're seeing on the right-hand side, you have a normal patient and a sick patient here. So you can see that the patient B here, what you're seeing is actually the cross-sectional view as the probe is actually moving along the blood vessels. A lot of these dark regions are actually the fatty tissues depositing within the blood vessel wall. And that is actually clearly see that you are narrowing your blood vessels, would have the risk of having these coronary artery diseases. And compared to the healthy patient, you can see that very clean and very clear internal view of the blood vessels. As it's actually moving along the channel or moving along the blood vessels, you are keep on capturing this radar scan, 2D radar scan, right? So you can actually reconstruct by the computer programming skills, you can reconstruct the entire three-dimensional view of these blood vessels. And why do we want to do that? Because that can actually help you to understand whether or not a specific surgery has been done correctly and properly. So one of this technology is what we call the stent placement. This is particularly useful when it deal with the coronary artery disease problem, in this kind of blockage problem. They implant this stent to enlarge blood vessels again, so that you can let the blood flow smoothly once again. But then the question is, right after the surgery, how do you know that, I mean, the surgeon is actually have done a good job here? So then you have to rely on this kind of image processing technology to help you. So here involves very heavily in terms of mathematics, computer programming, and here, of course, some optics concepts. So you can see that even just talking about one single type of disease, there are so many different technologies out there, and each of them requires very different skill sets in engineering and science and also biology. And this is exactly why I mentioned about this interdisciplinary significance here in terms of the BME training. And even in our, that's why I mean, in our program, we emphasize a lot how we can incorporate this interdisciplinary learning environment to our students, especially in our first 2 years. Our student will have a chance to learn a very broad-based exposures covering from mathematics, electrical and mechanical engineering skill sets, and of course, I mean, you need to learn the basic in biomedical sciences, all right? So that basically covers your foundation years. And taking the advantage of our close connections with the Faculty of Medicine in Hong Kong U, so when you come to the further year, like year 3 and year 4, you would be able to expose to many other courses, mainly focusing on these 4 different main areas, which are the 4 main areas in BME development nowadays, like tissue engineering, all right, and biomechanics, and different types of biomedical imaging technologies, and as well as the bioinformatics, how you can make use of computer science technologies, especially deep learning nowadays, that you might have heard a lot, how that can be applied to understand better human biology down to a genome scale. Okay, now, and you can actually see it already now, it's so diverse and covering so many different skill sets. Okay, and that actually implies that we actually need to work with many different people with many different backgrounds. All right, and that's why I always tell people that biomedical engineers they're always trained as a linguist. Okay, it's not the linguist that when you process different languages from different countries like German, French, or Japanese. Not that type of linguist. It's a linguist that how you process the language, okay, spoken by the medical doctors, the biologists, and also physicists and engineers on the same problem, because of the fact that they have gone through different training. So the way that they understand a certain problem, okay, they will have their very own specific language most of the time, all right? And biomedical engineers are very unique when you compare to other engineering disciplines, that we have to have this ability, okay, to process and understand what the others is actually saying, and how can we understand and process ourselves and work together as a group collaboratively towards a single healthcare problem. All right, I can give you just one example here. And even our teachers, professors in this program, okay, we are basically at our forefront in many different aspects in BME or biotechnology developments. And these are just some of the snapshots over the past few years, all the way from technologies related to the neurosurgery, eye treatment, tissue engineering technology, and biomedical imaging techniques for brain imaging, laser technology for cancer detections, and gene editing, for example. And you can see that right here. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that these highlight circles, all right, the red circles are basically our teachers from our engineering faculty. And we actually work very closely with the medical doctors who are actually highlighted in the green circles here. I actually forgot to circle some of them here as well. Okay, so we have been working very closely with biologists and medical doctors, clinicians here on this campus. So that's actually how we can understand the problem, solve a single healthcare or biological problems. And we actually also transfer the skill sets to our students as well. And our students have also to learn how can you work with many different people, understand their languages, how you can learn in this kind of interdisciplinary environment. So what you're seeing here are the 3 different students, as an example. So for example, Arthur, okay, he actually worked in the industry as internship in the summer. Okay, so he actually had a chance to learn, okay, how people in the industry, okay, to plan and develop their product design and idea, how to deploy their the device into the markets. All right, so this is not really about, how you invented technologies. It's all about how you deploy the technologies to the end users. All right, so the language and the mindset they are working, okay, then they're using is very different from, the scientists, okay, or the medical doctors that we talk about. So that's actually a very nice opportunities for the students to learn, okay, how these people are thinking, how their mindset, how they work. Very similarly, Connie actually worked in the hospital this summer as well as an internship. Okay, she actually also get to learn about, how in the hospital, okay, how they actually manage the medical device and how they do the procurement, how they plan ahead, okay, what types of medical device and technology being used for that would be good for the hospital. And the hospital actually need this kind of profession with the BME degree, okay, to work with them. Okay, and Unes is actually now our year 3 students, and she's actually very active in participating in this very prestigious competition called iGEM. So she got to actually work with the students from Faculty of Medicine, Science, and even business school to work together in a single project relating to the techniques that you can solve problems in synthetic biology. So I just want to give you an idea, okay, that our students, as a BME students, they have to have, and they actually have many different opportunities, okay, to work with different people, different fellow students, different professions in the field, and learn how to talk to them, how to communicate with them. And this is really unique opportunities. Now, in point number 6 here, you can see that I have nothing to say right here. And this is exactly what I would like to talk about. And most of the time, okay, not like me here talking a lot, BME don't actually talk too much, because all we need is just to get your hands dirty, try to get some more hands-on experience, work on your own problem directly. All right, and this is really what we have been emphasizing in our program as well. For example, in one of our courses, okay, this is actually the course I'm teaching right now in this semester too, that we get developed the students, all right, have to develop a medical device from scratch, from nothing, okay, that they have to build their own electronics, write their program, make their prototypes, and that is the device that you can actually measure your oxygen level in the blood. All right, and this is actually a video showing you one of the exercises that we had in this course, which is called drop test. Okay, so you can actually see me right now being a funny guy like in the video, dropping their device, their prototype onto the floor. Okay, so this is trying to test whether or not their device is actually robust. Okay, so, and they have to do the troubleshooting on site. Okay, so this is really a fun project and fun exercise, and they get to learn how to work on their own products. Okay, get their hands real dirty here. Okay, and not only this course, by the way, you can have many other opportunities to get hands-on experience. We provide many biomedical engineering laboratories here on this campus, and also in the Faculty of Medicine as well. Okay, we also we provide students to have summer training, internship opportunities that the students would take around 6 to 8 weeks of time in the biotech company, or in a hospital, or in any other research institutes. All right, to work as an internship for this summer period of time, so that they can learn how the real world BMD development is about. And this is actually a capstone experience of our program final year project. So towards the end of their year, so each of the students would have the whole year long projects to work on a problem, a healthcare related problem, and just think of how you can actually solve this problem and address this problem. And these are actually the students, our alumni, working on this in the final year project, in the past few years. Okay, so taking a few steps back, not to the final year, but to the first year. As I said, we emphasize a lot and make sure the students would actually get to learn some hands-on, right? So even when you just came in as year 1, very fresh, you might not know very much about BME. It doesn't matter. We would also give you a chance, okay, to work in different laboratories in the different research labs here on the campus. Okay, this is what we call the lab sharing program for the year one students, so that they can actually go there and learn behind the shadow of the senior PhD students or senior scientists in the lab, and learn basically how the real world BME research is about. So I think this is a very well received program. Students like it very, very much, so that they can learn outside the classroom. Okay, so the seventh point here is we as biomedical engineers always want to think about how we can learn, or how can we unlearn, okay, what we have learned in the field. So what we mean here is what we have learned in BME, okay, in the past 10 years or in the past 5 years might not be applicable anymore in the future years. So we have to keep on thinking and keep on changing our mindset. And this is exactly what we have been having in our mind in designing our curriculum. In the old days, okay, when people talk about biomedical engineers, okay, it's very unique role that we receive the problems given by the medical doctors, and then we try to think of the solutions and then give it back and help them to solve the problem. All right. But nowadays, the BME or the biomedical engineers actually have much more and diverse capability right now, so that you can understand better the biology part, the healthcare problems, and how you can make use of this problem to innovate new technologies. Just like the technologies that I mentioned, how you can understand the muscle biology here, how you can extract these electrical signal from muscles, and then to invent a device that you can control, electronics remotely simply by moving your hands and doing different gestures. This is exactly the innovation comes along and inspired by biology. And new generations of biomedical engineering is also involving how we can help, okay, to accelerate the biological discovery using new technologies. Just like, the little mouse that I just mentioned, how you can actually use laser technology, all right, and together with genetic technology, and understand how brain works. Okay, so this is exactly how the BME is actually evolving over the years nowadays. Okay, and how can we actually keep up the pace of the fast changing development in the field? It's very important to let the students to have more opportunities, okay, to get to learn more about BME outside the classroom. Okay, so that they can learn the real world more. So our students have been doing very great in participating in many different competitions or activities outside relating to the biotech and BME development, and they've been doing very great. So here are just some of the highlights here. Okay, great. Now, towards the end of the talk here, so perhaps some of you might have these questions already. So how about this pandemic? How and what is the role of BME here? So perhaps you might have heard that BME or biomedical engineers has been playing some roles and important roles in fighting against the COVID-19. And sometimes people even said that biomedical engineers are the unsung heroes in the pandemic. But in fact, I would say this is too soon to say that biomedical engineers are unsung heroes. For a very good reason is, if you just look at the statistics here. This is a very updated statistics up till yesterday, where to show you the COVID-19 number of deaths. Okay, this is a global statistics, all right, up to yesterday. And you can actually see that very clearly that we have still so far away from having a declining trend. Okay, so we're still very far away from claiming that, okay, we are winning in this pandemic. And indeed, there are many other technologies already developed by BME technology or biomedical engineers, and you might have heard of many news in the past few months, okay, developing different rapid tests for COVID-19 and some more other techniques, how can you develop, disposable, reusable face masks, for example. Okay, but we still have a long battle here. So biomedical engineers need to work harder, and we need to have more biomedical engineers to work harder on this problem. And not only that, okay, I tried to bring back the statistics that we had in the previous slides here on the same charts. And you can see that not only we have to deal with and have to worry about COVID-19, we also need to take care more about the other types of diseases, which are actually still very, very important and very challenging, especially cancer, lung diseases, and heart problems. Okay, and what you're seeing here is actually not up to scale, but if I try to make everything up to scale, you can see that heart problem is still far away from, okay, the seriousness of the problem of the COVID-19. Now, of course, I'm not trying to downplay the importance of COVID-19, but on the other hand, I want to emphasize the fact that we, as biomedical engineers, need to also think more broadly, okay, in terms of how we make use of technology to help healthcare. All right, so really towards the end of the talk here, number 9 is that the stuff that I talk about for the point number 8 might be wrong, because who knows that maybe next year, okay, there will be great inventions coming up that you can have a very effective way of detecting COVID-19 in a very quick and very efficient way. So, and that's exactly why I'm saying that we need more and more people who can actually work in the field and innovate further in the healthcare technology. And there are actually many opportunities out there right now. These are some of the career prospects about BME nowadays. You know, our alumni has been working in many of these biotech companies, and you can name some of them already. And the local hospital, either private or public hospital, so they also have the openings for biomedical engineers, okay, to work with them. Okay, and more than that is our biomedical engineering students and alumni have been doing very good in terms of further studies, okay, to innovate further, develop their own technologies or own solutions to help healthcare. What you're seeing here, 4 gentlemen, our distinguished alumni, who are now the university professors here in Hong Kong and also overseas. Okay, and many others are actually studying PhD or MPhil right now, or master degree overseas in US. Some of these are, most of them are actually top schools in US and UK. And our students also, take a chance to look for second opportunities, okay, in the medical school. And we indeed have cases in the past few years that after the graduations, they aspire to become a medical doctor, and taking the advantage that they have the engineering background. That actually makes their role and their expertise very unique, that you have a medical doctor with an engineering mindset and mentality, which is actually very important nowadays. Very lastly, in terms of career prospects, especially in the past few years, we have more and more students, including our teachers, came out here and then founded companies or startups, okay, based on the technologies or projects they have developed here in Hong Kong U. So here are some of the companies that our teachers and our students are actually involving very actively. Okay, you can see that they are covering many different types of healthcare technology. And in fact, on this campus, Hong Kong U actually pushing this entrepreneurial and innovative spirit and mentality on campus, very actively, having this innovation and entrepreneurship hub, IDAY2020, to help the students, especially for those who are very interested in doing startup, to provide them support, financial support, mentoring, mentorship support, help them to grow their business. All right. So very similar to what I just said before, not only the point number 8, but all the points from number 1 to number 7, okay, that I just talked about might be wrong, okay, and who knows that, there are many different new technologies coming up, and that could change, what we perceive, BME in the past few years. All right, so I think this is really what I would like to say today. And if you want to know more about our program, very welcome to visit our website. And we have a lot of factual information about programs. And I think more important, okay, for those who want to know more about our updates, latest development, not only students, but also our teachers, research development and program development, please follow our Instagram and Facebook. We are actively updating our news. Okay, so perhaps I overrun a little bit here, but I think that that's pretty much what I would like to talk about today. And I think that I'm really glad to have all of you here, almost like 100 people in the room. And if you have any questions, let me know right now. Feel free to ask. And again, make sure you know that we have at the same time another separate chat room where we have all many of our teachers and students there and answering your questions too. All right. So if you want, you can feel free to go to the room right now. Okay. All right, so I received questions that will there be any technical questions during the interview? First of all, we do have an interview for, first of all, non-JUPAS applicants and also JUPAS applicants, but these are the two separate interviews. So for the JUPAS one, I presume that you are asking the JUPAS interview. That is pretty much like a relatively informal meeting, and the main purpose for that interview is we want to know more about the candidates and how they talk, how they communicate, and why they're actually interested in BME. So not too much technical questions that you would anticipate. Now, and for the non-JUPAS, again, very similar to the JUPAS interview that I just mentioned. We want to get to know more about your background and why you are interested in BME in general, and why do you interested in Hong Kong U for sure. But in general, we don't actually ask like technical questions. So it's not an exam, okay? So that's hopefully would be something that I can answer. So then thank you very much. So any questions, feel free to ask. And I think that I will be here for around maybe 5 more minutes. And if there's any questions, feel free to let me know. Or you can just directly jump to the other chat room, and we have teachers and students there that's asking questions. All right, so for non-JUPAS interview, this is an individual interview. All right, and for the JUPAS one, that will be a group interview. So let me know if there's any questions. Don't feel shy. I can, I'll be more than welcome to answer your questions. Okay, so we got some more questions here. First of all, yeah, so do I need to put the BME as band A to be invited to the interview? Yes. So you have to choose our program as band A so that in order to be eligible to be invited to the interview. So, okay, number of non-JUPAS intake. It actually varies from years to years, but in general, we have slightly less than 10 students from the non-JUPAS, but around like 10. I think last year we have 10 plus students in the non-JUPAS intake. Okay, and the total class size is typically around like 30 plus students. Okay, so in terms of the virtual interview for non-JUPAS, yes, so that will be an online interview doing Zoom or some other like video conferencing tool. All right, so for the minimum grades for A-level, I would suggest you to go to the other room and ask for the answer from our administrative staff. I try not to give any random guess here for the minimum grade for the A-level. So if you want, I would recommend you to go there and ask our administrative staff there. So they definitely would be able to ask you. So is there any, is there only one round of interview? Pretty much yes. For both non-JUPAS and JUPAS interview, we have only one round of interview. Okay. So, okay, we actually got a good question here. If I do not study biology and chemistry in secondary school, is it still possible to get to BME? Simple answer is yes. So all we require, one of the key prerequisites is physics, okay? So as long as you have physics, then you should have no problem. Even you have no background in biology and chemistry, it doesn't matter, because in year one, we have courses covering the basic biology and chemistry. And based on our experience, we do have students coming in without any background in chemistry and biology. After 1 year of study, they can do very well. So there's no problem to catch up later on in some of these advanced courses in BME. Okay. Okay, so what language will be used in the interview? English. So definitely everything will be in English. Our medium in teaching is also in English in the university, except for those foreign language courses. Okay. Okay, so what is the lowest quote marks for the JUPAS? I think that you're talking about the score, right? Let me know if I get it wrong, but if I talk about the score, I think the mean score, first of all, for last year, it's 29, according to our new scoring scheme. And the other questions is about, is it possible to transfer from, okay, the general engineering to BME, okay? Technically, this is possible, but this is not recommended because, first of all, we don't want to give the impression that, okay, this will be a back door, okay, to get into the BME. But over the years and every year, we do receive application to transfer from the general engineering or engineering science to BME. And we do consider some of these cases, and we will have the interview, we will do the assessment and make sure these are very capable candidates and are very interested and devote into this program. So it's actually a very selective process. Okay, so it's possible, but it's very competitive. All right, so, okay, so someone actually also asked another good questions about the biomedical science and engineering here. I can give actually a whole day explanation here, but the difference between biomedical science and engineering is really the word science and engineering here. So I can give a very quick explanations about the difference. You can think of the biomedical science is all about asking why, okay? And biomedical engineering is basically asking questions how. Okay, so the idea is in biomedical sciences, how we understand, so we have to understand why we got this kind of disease. Why can certain individuals would be healthier than the other. Okay, so they would get into the basic biology, fundamental biology, and chemistry, and understand the mechanism behind. But in engineering, okay, we actually try to develop new tools or technology or techniques so that we can help them to, or help the scientists, to answer the questions that I just talked about. Okay, so in terms of the foundation training is actually very different. So in engineering, we actually train the students in a foundation year with very hardcore mathematics, electrical engineering and mechanical engineering skill sets. This is very different from biomedical sciences. Of course, I mean, we also include basic courses in life sciences, chemistry and biology, anatomy, all right? So all these basic, but we focus on to build the very solid foundation on in the engineering. But I would also comment on the fact that I mean, the biomedical engineering students and researchers, okay, at the end of the day, they would actually need to work together with the biomedical scientists to basically work together and solve the problem, just like what I mentioned in the talk. All right, so when you come to the point that you have to solve the problem and answer the real questions in biology or healthcare, you basically need to really work collaboratively together with the biomedical scientists. Okay. All right, so when will be the earliest conditional offer given? I think this really depends, but I think in the non-JUPAS applicants particular, we will start having our interview typically in March. So as soon as we are done with the interview, and we will start giving out the conditional offer right after the interview. Okay. And do we need to have this personal statement to apply? I think yes, especially for the non-JUPAS applicants. All you need to do is you basically just write about why you are interested in BME, what you think about the futures of BME, the potential of the BME, and even the challenge of BME. Okay, and yes, so thanks Emma, who is our administrative staff. So she's also very encouraged you guys to go to the other chat room to ask questions, because we do have many more other teachers there to ask questions, to answer questions. Is there any BME graduates apply MBBS in the past? Yes, that's true. We do have, as far as I know, at least one or two, particularly the MBBS degree in Hong Kong U. And as I said, like one or two. And I think that you should also know that we have this articulation pathway right now offered available to our BME student. This articulation pathway is the articulation from BME to MBBS. Simply put, is if you go through this articulation pathway, okay, and if you are eligible and you are selected, then you just need to finish your 4 years of BME degree, and then 4 more years in MBBS instead of 6 years. Then you would get the MBBS degree. Now, of course, here, I try to be more and more cautious here to bring up one very important point is, this is not a double degree. Okay, this is just 2 different degrees, all right? But yes, you can pack it within 8 years. But then you have to also be aware of the fact that this is a super competitive scheme and articulation pathway. Only those who are extremely dedicated and very motivated to become a medical doctors later on in the future, okay, and then you will be selected to the scheme. And there actually multiple steps of screening process and interviews. If you want to know more, I encourage you to come and ask, send us an email, and then we can give you more detail. And in fact, we also have this articulation pathway details in our website, and you can take a look. Okay. Will it be possible to apply the normal application process, but not the early application? I'm not sure if I understand your questions completely, but I think the normal application process would be this general application process. Your answer, you are asking. Maybe if you can, could you elaborate a bit more? And while we're waiting for that, any other questions from others? I see that many of you are still staying behind. And by the way, I can answer in Cantonese, okay? So if you have any questions in Cantonese, just let me know. I can also answer that. 'Perhaps I will stay behind for another probably 3 more minutes. Oh, okay. So we have another questions here. What is the okay? So basically, how easy to get employed? I think in general, it's pretty much like 100%. And but of course, I would say more important is, okay, where these alumni are actually going after the graduation. So I think I might have missed this point in my talk. Maybe I can supplement here. So in terms of our statistics, well, according to our statistics, sorry, around like 1/3 of our students opt for further study in master degree or PhD degree, and they are doing this highest degree in Hong Kong here, or overseas, and you already can see some of my slides there before. And some others, okay, they would go for or the medical or biomedical engineer positions in the biotech companies, and the service engineers in the hospitals, okay, and also some other biotech startup. And some of them even have their own startup, as I just mentioned. Okay, we actually get more and more students, trying to challenge themselves along these directions. So in fact, I do encourage our students try to think a little bit outside the box, not just to ask yourself whether or not you want to get employed by big companies or some very well-established corporations, but think about what you really can even create jobs yourself. And I think that our students actually they are actually changing their mindset, and many of them are doing very good. All right, so how many applicants last year? Okay, I have to go back and double check the numbers, but in general, 100 plus. Okay, and as I said, at the end, every year we basically have around 30 plus students, including JUPAS and non-JUPAS applicants. Okay. So if there any other questions, maybe I can take one last question here before we close the room. Any questions? No? Okay, so I'm glad that a lot of you are still staying behind, and I hope that I just gave you a clear background of a BME, and hope you enjoy the talk. And if you have time, I again encourage you to go to another room, and I will be there as well later on to answer your questions if there's any. Okay, so again, thank you very much. Okay, thanks for being with me until now, and have a nice weekend. Thank you so much, and goodbye, and good luck for everyone. So hopefully I would see some of you later on. Yeah, if you have any questions, just go to our chat room right now. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.